Bloodline gatekeepers, the living or deceased family members who consciously maintain the curse's structure. Every generational curse has an enforcement mechanism. While the original agreement may have been made generations ago, it still requires someone to keep it alive in the present. This is the role of the bloodline gatekeeper, a living or deceased family member who acts as the custodian of the curse, ensuring its structure remains intact and that no one slips free without consequence. Gatekeepers are not accidental participants. Whether they understand it spiritually or simply carry out the function in practical terms, they operate with awareness that their role is to guard the family's way of life, its secrets, and its unspoken agreements. Their job is to maintain access for the curse to continue its work and to block, discredit, or punish anyone who attempts to dismantle it. Who becomes a gatekeeper? Gatekeepers can be positioned in the bloodline in several ways. By inheritance of authority. The position is passed down intentionally, often to the child most loyal to the family's values or the one most likely to obey the existing power structure, by coercion or fear. A family member becomes a gatekeeper to protect themselves from punishment or exclusion. In some cases, they may have been threatened spiritually, financially, or physically into compliance. By personal benefit. Some gatekeepers actively benefit from the curse inheriting wealth, status, or influence that depends on the pattern remaining unbroken. By death assignment. In spiritual terms, a deceased ancestor can remain a gatekeeper in the unseen realm, influencing dreams, visions, and spiritual atmosphere to steer descendants back into agreement. How gatekeepers maintain the structure. Gatekeepers use a variety of tactics to ensure the curse's structure remains intact. Control of resources, limiting access to money, property, or opportunities, unless the recipient remains loyal to the family's unspoken rules. Information suppression, hiding the true history of the family, destroying documents, or altering stories to maintain the preferred narrative. Enforcing tradition, insisting that certain events, rituals, or relationships be preserved because this is how we've always done it. Sabotaging dissenters, discrediting or isolating any family member who challenges the system, sometimes using slander, legal action, or social exile. Spiritual enforcement, engaging in active rituals, curses, or agreements to keep the curse operational. Living gatekeepers versus deceased gatekeepers. While living gatekeepers enforce the curse through tangible means, finances, property, social connections, deceased gatekeepers operate through the unseen. They can appear in dreams to persuade, intimidate, or guilt descendants. They can influence emotional triggers, creating feelings of shame or fear when someone tries to break away. The key distinction: living gatekeepers often enforce through visible power, while deceased gatekeepers manipulate through invisible influence. Both are equally capable of keeping the curse alive. Case example: the inheritance enforcer. In one family, the matriarch controlled a significant inheritance. Her unspoken rule was that no one who married outside the cultural and religious boundaries of the family would receive a share. While she claimed this was to preserve tradition, the pattern traced back to an ancestral agreement designed to keep the family isolated and bound to a specific controlling group. The matriarch knew exactly what she was doing. Her own mother had trained her to see herself as the gate to all resources. As a result, several family members stayed in abusive or loveless relationships simply to avoid financial exile. Breaking the power of a gatekeeper. Breaking free from a gatekeeper requires both spiritual and practical strategy. Recognize their function. Understand that the gatekeeper's power is tied to the curse, not just to their personality or position. Cut dependency. Remove your reliance on the resources, access, or validation they control. Nullify agreements. Break spiritual contracts that tie you to their authority. Guard against retaliation. Prepare for emotional, financial, or social backlash as you remove yourself from their sphere of control. Why gatekeepers are often family. External enemies can harm a bloodline, but family gatekeepers are the most effective enforcers because they have natural access to your trust, your history, and your vulnerabilities. The curse does not need to assign an outsider to guard the door when someone inside the house already holds the keys. The tragedy is that many gatekeepers believe they are protecting the family, when in reality, they are protecting the curse. Breaking their influence often reveals the truth. Once the curse is dismantled, the family can survive and thrive without the gate. Hi, I'm Adeline Atlas, 11 times published author, and what you just watched is part of my signature program, the Chosen One series inside School of Soul. This series is not just a course, it's a blueprint for those who know they were different from the start: the black sheep, the scapegoat, the truth teller, the cycle breaker. Inside, you'll discover the family roles playbook, the golden child, the scapegoat, the enabler, the lost child, and how to finally step out of the part you were cast in without consent. How the black sheep becomes the goat, turning rejection into radical transformation and leadership. How to break generational curses and rewrite ancestral contracts so the pain stops with you. And how to recognize and escape modern forms of spiritual and technological targeting, From gang stalking to synthetic synchronicity, this isn't just about survival. It's about awakening, about reclaiming your voice, your lineage, and your destiny as one of the chosen ones. Click the link below to access the full series now, because the role ends the moment you decide it does, and the real script begins with you.